This episode has been brought to you by Manscaped. The new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GOLTS20 for 20% off plus free shipping today. This week on the Heart of the Gulch YouTube show, we sit down with musician/songwriter Colby Acuff. In today's Walk the Line episode, Colby gives us an in-studio performance of How Do I Feel Alive off his 5th studio album, American Son. Let's check out the episode. We are in the heart of the Gulch. I'm your host, Tony Mendoza, and today I'm super excited. We got someone who's making a Nashville debut at the Exit Inn. We got the one and only Colby Acuff in the building.
How we doing?
You're not ready for the inflection change real quick.
I love it, though. I think it's great.
Well, man, thank you so much. And like I told you when you walked in the door, happy belated, bro.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, 28 years old already. Blink of an eye. I can't believe it.
Oh, man, dude. 28 years old. What is your favorite thing that you did when you were 27?
Oh, it's got to be either playing the Ryman or playing Red Rocks.
Oh, man. When I saw you playing Red Rocks, literally last weekend, this past weekend?
Yeah.
No Theo Vaughn?
Yeah. No Theo.
Dude, talk to me about the Red Rocks, man. That is absolutely, it had to have been a dream.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, we've got to play some really amazing venues just in this last year. Honestly, it's been a big year for us. And but Red Rocks has always been on my bucket list, especially I'm a kid from the West as well. And, you know, I actually have never even been to Red Rocks before this for even a show. So
oh, man.
To go and play it, thank you to Midland as well for having us on. But yeah, just incredible.
Well, you know, I was thinking about all the questions I could ask you, and I know you've done a lot of interviews. So I have a fun question to ask you. Since yesterday was your birthday, okay, how would you spend your birthday if you were alone, excluding hanging out with your friends, excluding hanging out with your family?
Oh, yeah. No, I've done this one before.
Oh, hell yeah.
Not this question, but it used to be when I was still living in northern Idaho, for my birthday, I would just go fly fishing by myself. And you know, I'd leave early in the morning before the sun came up, and I'd come back when the sun was down. And that's how I usually spent my birthday for, I don't know, before I moved to Nashville, probably 3 or 4 years, did that.
Dude, Idaho, I haven't been there yet, but from what you sing and, you know, with American Son and just the way you talk about it in your interviews, man, it sounds like an awesome place.
It really is. Yeah. It's a gorgeous place. It's starting to get a little bit bigger. There's definitely more and more people that have figured out that Idaho exists. So more and more people are going there, but man, it's a great outdoor state. And I'm from the northern part, so It's a huge state. I mean, it's an 8-hour drive from the top to the bottom. So it's kind of like Texas, you know?
You know, I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like, okay, well, first off, when I think about hunting, I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
So I was trying to compare the two because I've never hunted before. And I'm not going to try to lie to y'all and say that I have. But I was thinking this, a fun question here. If you had to go hunting, top 3 people in country music or bluegrass, who would you like to go hunting with?
Ooh, man, that's a good one. I'm a big duck hunter versus big game and stuff. But I guess the only right answer there would probably be Riley Green. Probably go sit in a duck blind with Riley Green would be good. Or I mean, this isn't really a country singer, I guess, but it would be cool to go on a big game hunt with like Joe Rogan or something. Oh, you know, like absolutely. Why not? Oh, I'd go with Luke Combs. Oh, well, I'd go with Luke Combs all day long.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I was thinking about, you know, coming from Idaho and hunting there must have been just instilled in you, in your blood.
For sure.
Just like in South Texas and San Antonio, eating tacos. That was literally in my blood. Like I didn't find I don't have the fever to eat a taco here in Nashville, Tennessee. No disrespect to y'all. But yeah, so hunting, man, and just fly fishing.
Yeah, that really became the big part of it too. I mean, I grew up, I did so much hunting and so much fishing, but once I started fly fishing, that kind of became the epicenter of like what I wanted to do. And actually before I did this full time, I was a guide for about 3.5 years. So it really was, I mean, I was doing it 120 to 150 days a year.
What's fly fishing like for going with someone that's never fly fished before? How terrible must that be? Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guiding it's not really babysitting, but a lot of what the guiding is it's the guide trying to fish through a person. So a lot of it too, like if someone's never gone before, a lot of it's just setting expectations and teaching them how to fish. But I can guarantee you that I'll give you a chance at a really big fish. You know, when you're doing it every single day, you know where all those fish are and you know where they eat and what they're eating and, you know, what the temperature's at in the water and what the sun is doing and kind of, you know what's going on and you've seen these fish for weeks on end. So beginner or not, you know, if you get a guide, he can take you to a spot that's going to have a fish in it. Whether you catch it or not, man, that's up to the client. But
you were talking about this, and we were talking about this when we walked in the door today, that, you know, when transitioning to, you know, a city like Nashville, where I feel all the best things to do outdoors, there's some things to do here outdoors, but not nearly as much as Idaho or anything like that. What's that transition been like? Because I know you came here for work, right?
Yeah.
With music, but when you want to scratch that itch, what are some places that these folks that are watching this from Nashville can go to enjoy just the great outdoors?
I get on a plane.
you just dip?
I get on a plane, yeah. And here's the reason why. I really haven't done much hunting and fishing down here. I know it's great duck hunting. If you go down over the Mississippi Flyway, over to the Delta area, you know, you get into Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama. Some of that stuff can be really great. I've been really lucky through music and stuff. I've been able to go fishing with people. I've fished coast to coast. I've fished in Mexico. I mean, I've done a lot of different fly fishing trips. And a lot of them, some of them are with fans, some of them are with other artists, some of them are just with me, you know, like whatever it is. But if I could fish anywhere, it'd be Idaho, Montana.
Well, you know, I love that. And, you know, speaking of things that you do well, you know, I'm going to talk about music. And I kind of want to know, you know, we were talking about, you know, all the funny little places in Texas. You got to play my favorite place in the world, which is Flora's Country Store.
It's a good spot.
And Luke Combs in the Alamo Dome.
Yep, correct.
Dude, that's, I mean, for a person that's from South Texas, man, the Alamo Dome is just up there. But what are some places in, you know, in Idaho that people may not know of that are music venues that you played that just mean the world to you?
Oh, there's a ton of them. There really is, because there's not a ton of venues. And, you know, we started off, we were just a honky-tonk bar band. That's all we ever, you know, we're kind of like Huey Lewis and the News is like, their thing was always like, we're the bar band that made it, you know, whatever. And I feel like, you know, we were just a pretty dirty honky-tonk band for a long time. And there was a lot of spots where, you know, there's a cafe in Moscow, Idaho called Bootsers that, you know, it was a kind of a jazz club kind of spot. We had no business playing there, but we'd pack it out and, you know, they'd sell more beer in the one night that we played there than they would the whole month. So we got to come back. We'd come back every month. And then there's a brewery that opened in Lewiston, Idaho called Groundworks Brewing. I was there when they opened. I played like the first or second week and they were open under a pop-up tent, just me and an acoustic guitar. And by the time, you know, 3 or 4 years later, when I was moving to Nashville, they had built a stage and we had actually built something there with that venue.
That's awesome.
And so they still do live music, I believe 3 times a week. And that's a great spot to go to. It's probably 150 cap on a patio, beer, pizza. It's a great spot.
I always wonder this, as you get bigger as a name, right? Because now, you know, touring with Luke Combs, 49 Winchester, you name the act, Lainey Wilson, you've worked with them all, right? And I'm curious about this. As your name gets bigger, as you start to grow your fan base, you know, is it challenging for you to go back home and to play these small bars that you grew, you know, you grind your teeth in? Is that something that you, no matter what?
No, I think it's great because most of those bars that we used to play, no one cared about us at all. We had 2 records out and the second one was doing really well, but we hadn't signed anything. And I was still booking myself as playing 3-hour sets. And, you know, some of those bar owners would be like, oh, well, you know, we don't want to hear your original music. We want you to play those Haggard tunes and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, but this other record I'm doing it's done 2 million streams in a month. Like, would you allow me to please play these songs? Because people are showing up for a Colby Acuff show. They want to hear these songs. And they're like, no, they want to hear Haggard. I'm like, all right. So we'd go up, you know, and try to sneak in a few originals here and there, and they'd go over great. But we weren't like running a artist set for a long time. And so, you know, it was mostly just me thinking like, well, you know, I don't know if we can make enough noise up here to get the attention of the industry. And I just didn't know if it was going to work out, but it ended up working out. I ended up getting a phone call one day when I was playing, thank God, playing one of my least favorite venues of all time. And I got a phone call, and it was a guy saying, hey, I'm with so-and-so label, and I'm going to fly to Idaho and watch your set tonight. And by Monday I had a record deal.
You know what? First of all, how interesting is it? Because I hear that story a lot, even here in Nashville, where bar owners, especially downtown Broadway bars, I get it. It's a capital music city. Everyone wants to hear the tunes that everyone plays.
Right.
But it's weird to me that musicians don't have the flexibility to throw in an original, especially if they're trying to come up, right? You're established at this point. If that bar wants you, no more Haggard.
Yeah.
Which is what's up with that.
If we play it, it's going to be on us.
Yeah, that's right. And as it should be, because you've been busting it. You've been killing it.
Thank you, man.
So I'm just curious to know, what is it with, these bar owners, these certain bar owners not allowing musicians to really, sing their voice?
I don't know, man. I feel like it always comes down to the same thing. That's just money. They want to feel like they're getting, they're not paying us anything. At that time, it's like
$200.
Yeah,
maybe?
I'm like, oh man, sick, a $500 gig. That's huge. At that point, and it still is kind of, for anybody. I mean,
$500 is a good little.
I remember the very first check I thought I was really making money was $300, and I was like, oh my God, if we could just do this every time. It's like,
hey, $300 in South Texas will get you a lot of tacos.
It's true. I mean, but I lived on it for a long time. I lived on a guiding salary and $300 a night. I mean, I've done that. It's hard, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like it does come down to money. They want to, in their mind, and they're kind of right for this too. It's the customer is always right, and they're like, no one cares about your song, dude. Play the hits. And it's like, well, this is kind of turning into a hit. It's getting good.
Well, speaking of Starvin', that's actually my favorite song out of American Son is Starvin'.
Okay, yeah, that's
so
a good one.
Talk to me about Starvin', because I heard that song. Like I said, I was listening to it in the gym just yesterday. And man, dude, that the background noise, the background singer, shout out to y'all, but also just the instrumentation, man, it felt like when you walked into the studio, what was I playing? I was playing Creedence.
Yeah.
Bro, it sounded like you could go back in time and play Starvin', and it sounded amazing, bro.
Yeah, so that tune, it's one of maybe 3 songs that give you a really nice pickup in the record. And I just remember thinking, like, we were writing so much heavy stuff for the record, and somewhere along the way I had this idea of like, man, I've been on the road a long time, like I'm starving, like I want to get home, and see my girlfriend and blah blah, and everyone kind of laughed, and I was like, man, I think that's a really good song idea though, because it's just the working man blues. Go home, I've been working all this month long, swinging a hammer, I'm tired, I just want to go home, relax, be with my family and whatnot, and I'm starving for some off time. And so I just was like, I think I actually am going to write this, but let's just make it like a dirty 70s Southern rock song.
And it sounds so good. At least everyone has their own style of, not only just country music, but just music in general.
Right.
That vibe, that 70s, bringing it back to the good old days sound. Man, dude, your voice shines on that, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that's a great one. And you're right. Like the background vocals on that song are nuts. They killed it. Absolutely killed it.
Well, you know what? The Heart of the Gulch would be starving if we didn't take this break real quick to shout out the sponsors of this video. And we'll be right back with Colby right after this.
This episode has been brought to you by Manscaped. The new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GOLTS20 for 20% off plus free shipping today.
So talk to me about touring this year, because like I said, when we started the interview, we were talking about the Red Rocks, which is, first of all, how's that sonically? How's that sound?
Oh, it's amazing. It's got to be. I was a little worried about it because of all the rocks, and like you never know what the acoustics are going to be, even in like the most legendary of venues and stuff. But doing sound check, I was like, let's just keep playing. It sounds
that good.
Sounds really good, even from stage. They just have it. I mean, it was just made really well. It's just everything shoots straight out, and the crowd is straight up, and then everything it funnels right off the rocks. It's perfect.
Give me your oh snap moments that happened this touring season. What was a situation that may have happened where you're like, oh snap, I can't believe that happened right now?
Red Rocks was definitely one of them. I wasn't like all day of show. I was obviously very excited to play, but there's a weird, a numbing that happens on tour where you're excited for a show, but it's a work day. It's it's just another show. It's another set. It's a legendary place, and I was holding that very true. But it just was like, okay, but let's get in there, do our job, and we're playing the set, and it's the last song, and I'm looking at my drummer, and I turn around, and there's a standing ovation at Red Rocks, and so then that was kind of like, oh my God. We just pulled off the greatest magic trick of all time.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'll give you my applause on that. It must be so amazing to go through different venues. Touring musicians, like I've been telling you guys for a long time now on the show, if you are a touring musician, it is almost like work, just like you go into your 9 to 5. It almost becomes just body, muscle memory at that point.
Yeah.
But, when you take in those moments, what are a couple other moments this touring season that you kind of step back and you're like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do the rest of my life?
I would say the Ryman as well. We got a standing ovation at the Ryman for our very first time playing. We got to open for Flatland Cavalry there. It was a phenomenal night. Another one was definitely the very first stadium show with Luke. I was so nervous for that show. But that was in Milwaukee. And, man, doing sound check in a stadium, that is so surreal because it's not even like built. That's like where people play baseball.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's just wild when you walk in there. Or like this year, I'm watching football in the fall, and I'm like, I played that stadium. Like that's crazy to me, and that is something that is
crazy to everyone, bro.
Yeah, no, trust me, I know it's just wild. We've just had so many great opportunities on tour, truly, and we've made so many good friends along the way that have brought us along for, their amazing success. And so, yeah, I feel like all of this year has kind of been like that. But even, we have a headline show in Seattle and we sell it out. I'm like, man, that's crazy. Because I'm from Northern Idaho, drive the 5 hours, go to Seattle to go to the Tractor Tavern and watch my favorite up and coming bands. And now here I am sitting there selling it out. So that stuff is also extremely, like, oh my God, we can do it on our own as well. So
what city was the most surprising where you saw such a large amount of your fans? When you think about it, you're like, man, I had no idea that I had the reach all the way out here or over here somewhere.
This year, I'll just say a state in general, but Texas.
Really?
Last year we struggled in Texas. I'm not going to lie. And this year we had, I don't know, we played Texas a lot this year. And I remember the very first one we had was in Lubbock at the Blue Light. And
shout out to Texas Tech.
Yeah, for sure. Wreck them. And, and I show up and I'm just like, oh God, like, what are we going to sell 10 tickets at the Blue Light tonight? And I look, it's sold out. I go, okay, here we go. And then the next one was sold out. And then it was good. It was always good in Texas to us this year. So I was kind of shocked by that. West Coast is kind of our grab. So, any California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, even go a little bit more inland, you get to Montana, that kind of stuff. That's our grab for sure. And so even stuff like when we go to Virginia, we got a really good fan base in Virginia. The very first time I played there, we sold out a small club, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe anyone showed up.
You talk about these locations, right? Virginia, Texas, California, just the West Coast. They all have their own individual sounds of country or bluegrass.
Yeah.
So where would you say is in your playlist, what area, what region of the United States do you think pops up in your playlist a lot?
Oh, I would call it like some kind of like a Rocky Mountain grass music for sure. That like the inland Northwest has its own thing. It's definitely, I grew up on a lot of bluegrass, but I also grew up on like a lot of Southern rock stuff. And so somewhere in the middle there, I think it's Stapleton, like Steel Drivers kind of vibe, that kind of stuff. But I would say something around the Appalachia, like Kentucky, if it's, to migrate a region to like where I'm from, that those two have a lot of similarities.
And, I think it's so amazing that you're able to reach an audience from everywhere, every walk of life. So, talk to me about some of your favorite songs that you've done so far in American Son.
I mean, American Son, the title track is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And it's a song where when we were going into pre-production for the record, basically my producer was like, hey, we need a song that's kind of like Times They Are Changing by Bob Dylan. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of one of the most impactful songs of all time. He's like, yeah, but like,
you can do it.
Just go write it. I'm like, okay. And I went back home, and I was actually home in Idaho for Christmas. And I finally, spending some time with family, spending a lot of time with my dad, talking about stuff like that. And it kind of just wrote itself fairly quickly. And I knew when I wrote it, I was like, okay, let's just name the record this. I don't need this to be the first song on the record, but I think this kind of is something that encapsulates the whole thing.
And how important is that for a musician? So for the folks that are watching this right now that have never created a song or never created a project, how important is it to find your sound?
Well, I think every song has to be tailored to in its own way. And obviously there's plenty of artists and musicians out there that will definitely say like, well, if you find your sound, you should stick to that thing because it's the most marketable, it's the most brandable.
It's you.
But I write a song, right? That song could be sung by anybody, right?
Yes,
I choose
absolutely.
to cut it myself, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to cut this. To me, it's a huge disservice to the song to make it Colby Acuff. You want to go in my mind, and make that song whatever makes that specific song blossom the most. So I wouldn't want to Colby Acuff a song. I just would like to make those songs whatever they need to be.
Man, that's just, it's awesome you say that because I know musicians that would say it the other way.
Right. Well, of course. And there's not a bad way to do it. But for me personally, I'm singing on the song. You're going to know it's me. I've been told I have a very unique voice. So I guess
you do.
That could be a thing. But I think if it's me, it's going to be me. But I think the beauty of it is that all the records are different. All the songs are different. And everything has been tailored for each project.
Talk to me about the Exit In. So what I think is so amazing, I got to film a behind the scenes at the Exit In this past season. And man, it's one of those venues that remind me of Floor's Country Store.
Yeah. Like
in Nashville, Tennessee, if you guys are watching this from outside of Nashville, Tennessee, it is, how would you describe Exit In?
Nostalgic, for sure. And it's cool. Like, I know that might not actually be the coolest definition, but I think
I mean, you dress kind of cool, so I trust that when you say cool, it's cool.
I don't know about that. I think it's a really cool venue, though. I think it's a venue that, when we were talking about headlining, making the debut headline here in Nashville, it was like, where do you want to do it? I'm like, well, it's got to be Exit In. I mean, in my mind, it's just a cool, historic venue here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm really looking forward to it. It's November 2nd. You can get tickets at colbyacuff.com. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It should be a great show.
So talk to me about what a show of yours would look like, because I saw you did a great job with the reel of the Red Rocks, as you should. But I'm very curious to know when it comes to, because I haven't seen it yet. I want to be there to see it. Would you say that your stage presence is all encompassing, where you're looking at folks? Are you high energy, mid energy? You let me know.
Yeah, we've been known to be pretty high energy. I feel like we, I wouldn't say run off the rails or anything, but it definitely is. It's a pretty high. The show we start and we go, and then we play some of our more ballad stuff, and then we do a band break where I'll play a couple songs acoustic, and then the last 45 minutes to an hour is just, it's go, go, go.
I think about seeing Luke Combs.
Yeah.
And Luke Combs sounds the exact same way, right? Where it's high energy at first, because obviously you got to get the crowd involved. Yeah. And then as it goes along, you kind of go through these waves.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, the folks that you performed with or opened up with and also hanged out with, and what you learned from, let's just say Luke Combs, Lainey, or 49 Winchester.
I mean, all the bands that I've ever opened for, I've learned some show things, some music things. We've definitely learned a lot from them, but the biggest thing I've taken away from people I've opened for is how to treat your opener. You hear it all the time, like where people go out on the road with other bands and they never give them the time of day, they never talk to them, or even worse, sometimes they're not treated very well. But everybody that I've worked with, especially the ones mentioned, have been phenomenal to me. And I think that makes, especially as an opener, that makes the world of difference. Feeling welcomed, not just like, oh, well, we put you on because it's a favor or something. But when the headlining artist, is like, we believe in you. That's why you're here. You belong here. And you get to hang out with them and spend time with them. And they then kind of show you different things through that. I mean, that's really what the biggest takeaway for me is.
What does it take for one to become an opener? Because on my show, obviously I'm so happy that you're here on our show and our program for our guests. A lot of my folks that are on my program, at least this year, have been openers.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know what extra oomph do you have to put into your show or put into your music to change that dynamic from being an opener for a Luke Combs to slowly start to build your way into those headlining shows like you're doing at the Exit In?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is you gotta have a strong fan base, and you gotta have, when you're going out and you're saying, okay, well, we're opening for all these people, what's your merch number look like when you're opening? If your merch number is pretty good per head, you might be able to come back and try to book a headlining show there, see how you do. It's all about how many tickets can you sell necessarily, but that starts with the music, that starts with the fan base, that starts with the marketing of it all. And I think a lot of it too for me has just been, there was a couple years ago I made a decision where I was like, well, I'm kind of at a crossroads here where I could build a character for stage. In theory, in the mindset of like, okay, I could have this person that, all right, this is a Colby Acuff show, and when I'm home, I'm Colby. And something that I always have said about our branding is the number one thing that we sell is authenticity. And when I was thinking about that, I'm like, it's way, way easier just to be myself. So there is no, the brand is me. I'm the brand. I don't have a stage name. That's the whole thing.
While you were on tour this year, what were some fan experiences that kind of touched you this year and that you're like, wow, like I can't believe that I made such an impact on not only you, but the music you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some big ones. So a lot of American Son has a lot to do with mental health and suicide prevention and a lot of that stuff. Personally, in my life, I've lost way too many friends to that specific thing. And a lot of these songs on this project are songs I wish I would have written a lot sooner. Just because, I mean, I don't know if it would have helped the people that I've lost, but maybe it could have. And what we've seen this year, especially with a song called Scared of the Dark, the stories are horrific, but also really beautiful because those fans are still here with us because of that song. And so that's a whole nother thing too. I mean, it's a pretty insane place to be standing when someone's telling you that story, and that is the intended purpose of the song. But you can't thank me for writing it. The song is theirs. You know what I mean? Like, I wrote that song, I gave it to them, they listened to it, it helps them. So I'm really thankful for the songs. But the fan base, we have an amazing fan base.
I think that is what you just said right there kind of reminds me a little bit of right now Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
So Jelly Roll's the voice for, his audience, and the songs that he makes, he is making sure that he's tailoring it to his audience. So that makes that synergy on stage. And when you're talking about mental health, which I'm always a little nervous to talk about mental health through YouTube, because you know how that can turn into a whole all these things. If you need help, go get help. And we're both saying that. So listen to, American Son, and let everyone know how important it is. But, when it comes to imposter syndrome, I like to leave this question at the end of the interview, but I'm gonna start it now. So imposter syndrome, everyone goes through imposter syndrome, but what are some mechanisms that you can help the guests that are watching this today, if they're going through it, how to turn a new leaf and keep on moving?
It depends on what's going on, I guess. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, sometimes it's a fan interaction that I'm like, oh my God, what could I possibly be thinking? Like, this is obviously the reason that I do this thing. And I am obviously me, and this is the thing, right? Sometimes it's me being ungrateful. Sometimes I can get down on myself. Sometimes, you play the comparison game. Sometimes that can be a real downhill spiral. But then it takes, like, I don't know, I'll be scrounging around looking for something, and I'll find like that $300 check and be like, okay, yeah, it's fine.
Have you framed anything yet?
I have a frame of Western White Pines, the record.
Okay.
I haven't framed a check yet. I should get that check in frame. I still have it. It's in my old checkbook, and it's right in the front slot. I just kept it there for that exact purpose.
Well, before we take our next break, so fans can ask you questions, I'm going to ask you that question along the term of motivation, right? So what gets you motivated to get up every day?
Last year, I was dealing with some stuff on my own. Like, I was pretty down last off season, and I remember I was in the living room and my girlfriend walks in, and I just like broke down, and I was like, I don't even know like what I'm doing anymore. You know, just kind of, I was in a tough spot. And she said it nicer than this, but basically what she told me was, she's like, you're the most driven and competitive person, and like, you always have a path going forward, and you never get down on yourself. You're always somebody that can put their head down, run through the A gap, score a touchdown. Like, you're always in that mindset. And I've never seen you like this. And this is a very strange place for you to be. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And then I went and wrote American Son. And that is kind of always been my motivator. The motivator is just to better myself. My expectations, unfortunately, for myself are super, super high, but I'm a very driven person, and probably the number one thing that would motivate me is if someone told me that I couldn't do something.
Well, before we take this break, it kind of sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
So talk to me about writing the song Nightmare.
Yeah, so Nightmare, actually, I originally wrote it, and it was a song about a busker on the street, and him trying to dream himself out of the nightmare, him trying to follow the dreams, be that driven person, and make a change in his own life. And my producer had brought up, like, well, what if we made it more kind of impactful for everybody? So it's not just a fictional story about this one person. What if we kind of tailored it to the whole country, or, humanity? So that's a great idea. Give me 10 minutes. So I went and rewrote the song, and we cut it just like that. And I remember when I was, when I wrote the bridge for it, and it's the "Oh Say Can You See" part and all that stuff, that's when it really started coming together for me. That's when I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense to me. I love the song. We're the brand for us too. I mean, I've always loved kind of counterculture music. I've always loved being an outside voice, maybe telling somebody to look in or also look out. I don't, necessarily write a lot of, really catchy love songs, but I write a lot of songs that I think are really impactful.
Would you say that a live performance just means the world to you when you're able to, when you do a live performance, do you prefer it to be acoustic, or do you like that live band sound where you can interact more with not only the musicians playing, but you also get a different reaction from the guests?
Live band.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. I mean, for me, it's just, we're a 6-piece band. It's me and 5 of my closest friends up there playing music. It's everybody who's a musician. Like, I get paid for the travel. I get paid for the food I have to eat on the road. I get paid because I have to spend so much to go and play those things. But the show, I do that for free.
Next time someone comes to your show, especially for this Exit In show, and what day is that?
November 2nd.
November 2nd. Exit In, Nashville, Tennessee. Another plug. Now, I want to know, what is one, outside of you singing, which one of the band members should you be paying attention to the most that you like to see?
Oh, boy. I'd probably say either my piano player, Eric Bowen, or my bass player, Stefan Jarocki. They're fun to watch.
Do the piano player get a solo sesh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody pretty much takes a solo, including the bass player.
What's your favorite musical instrument solo session?
Gotta be, I love electric guitar. I really like it when someone takes a really hot telly solo. That's some of my favorite stuff. Next would probably be like a banjo solo. I'm a banjo guy.
Banjo solo.
I like banjos. I'm a banjo guy.
Ah.
Some of those bluegrass stuff is pretty hot.
See, mine is the steel guitar.
Oh, love steel. Yeah, we got a steel player too, and he's a great player. Love steel. Actually, I'm gonna go with a dobro. That'd be my second favorite.
Wait, what is that?
Dobro is like an acoustic steel guitar. It's an acoustic guitar with a slide on top of it, but it's like built just for that.
See, all right. So look, guys, as much as I've done interviews with it, you're actually the first person to ever say that particular instrument.
Dobro?
Dobro.
It's real. It's good. If you like Alison Krauss, you really like Dobro. I promise.
Let's go, bro, to crowd noise. So let's
Love
get
it.
going.
A chance to host your own show, what would be the topics and who would be your first guest?
Okay. I like that. If I had my own show, the topic would probably be, it would either be solely an outdoor like fly fishing show, to which I would probably have my old outfitter on the show, Mike Beard, shout out Northwest Outfitters. If I had a music show, it'd be about songwriting. It'd be your classic, hey, here's a songwriting podcast that we also talk about the road. And I would probably have on, if I could have on anybody, I'd probably have either Luke Combs on or probably Cleto Cordero with Flatland Cavalry.
You know, who's the biggest personality in the band?
Oof. We all got pretty big personalities. I don't know. I mean, I feel like on stage, probably Stefan Jarocki, my bass player. Off stage, I'm going to go with my drummer, Josh.
Okay,
Maybe.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, this is a weird question, but the girlfriend wanted me to ask this, and it's because we like to travel, we like to drive. Your favorite type of gas station around the country?
No question, it's Maverick.
Really?
Maverick, yeah.
You're not going to give love to the Buck? The Buckies?
Bucky's is my second. I do gas station reviews on Instagram. Like, that's like a thing that I do. Maverick one, I am a little bit biased because it's in the West.
Okay.
Their food, they don't have as much food as a Bucky's, but I do believe that their food is better. It's also not such a tourist event to go to a Maverick, obviously, because it's just a gas station versus a Bucky's. It is literally like going to Disneyland sometimes, depending on which one you go to. And I mean, obviously, I'm so thankful for Bucky's. Like the gas price, the food, the bathrooms, like everything about Bucky's is great, except for it's a little bit of a
Too much of a tourist stop.
It's kind of a zoo, yeah.
Well, you know, speaking of that, so I asked the same question, I believe, to Harper Grace.
Okay, yeah.
And she gave raving reviews. Sorry, guys, I don't know why we're talking about this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. She gave great reviews for Loves.
I mean, we go to a lot of Loves. We go to Loves all the time.
What is your so when you go into one of these gas stations on your drive to the next show? I mean, what is, you know, your starter pack when you talk about getting food or drinks?
My pack is I'm always going to get a Smart Water. I'm going to get a Lime Topo Chico. That's always. Every time we stop the van, I get those two things.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wait, a Smart Water and a Topo Chico?
Yeah, and then I'll drink one or the other, and then when I go to the next, I'll re-up on another one.
So the carbonation is a must.
Oh, dude, I mean, I love like LaCroix, bubbly, Topo Chico. I drink that stuff all day long.
Okay, so Smart Water, Topo Chico. What else is in the starter pack?
Well, see, then this is where it gets kind of hairy because it's like, okay, am I gonna eat like shit? It's kind of where it goes. And so for me, it's like, try to stick to something like a meat stick or jerky, something in the protein realm. But the thing about Loves that is nice is most of the time they're attached to a restaurant, or I shouldn't call it a restaurant, but some kind of fast food.
Something with some nourishment.
Something there. And so, you know, I mean, it's not great, but sometimes you can get McDonald's, try to keep it around 1,000 calories or less for me and go from there.
What's a no-go? So what is an absolute that you learned before you hit the stage? You are not eating this. You're not drinking this. What is an absolute no? I'm not touching it.
A no-go for me is any kind of like high octane, like energy drink.
Really?
Absolute no-go.
Don't need it.
Can't have it. It sends me into the ether. I'm already pretty like ADHD and I already go pretty crazy on stage.
Well, what does the ether look like? Like Macho Man Randy Savage?
It's just fast.
Start
like,
moving?
No, it's mostly just has to do with tempo even. You just want to push. You just want to push and go and go and go. And then, I mean, shit, if it crashes, if you crash, an hour. You got another hour and a half to play. It's like,
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually a great point, because for the folks that will never play a stage in their life, I had no idea that, yeah, you're right. You got to keep that same tempo for longevity and stamina.
Every now and then I'll be real tired. I'll do like a little bit of a Red Bull, maybe in like a tequila Red Bull or something.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to this next question here.
Love it.
Are you currently inspired by?
Oh, one more time.
Whose fashion
are you currently inspired by?
Oof. I'm a big fashion man. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Like I said, you already dressed cool. I already gave you the compliment. Stop fishing for more.
Yeah, I think it's for me. I mean, I think that's anybody asking about my fashion, I think is wild, but I love it though. I think for me, it's I'm a big comfort guy, so I'm always going to be wearing, not super tight blue jeans. I'm going to have a comfortable pair of boots on. You can normally find me in a hoodie or a crew neck sweater, and then I got 200 hats that I go through. I'm a big hat collector. And I get attached to hats. This is my 4th hat from these guys, and it's about ready for a 5th.
I was thinking about this earlier with the changes in the leaves, because by the time these washes, it will be out next week.
Yeah.
So Halloween's coming.
Yeah.
The election is coming. So whoever you vote for, please, we're probably both gonna say just go vote, get your voice heard.
100%.
Now with it changing in Nashville, the leaves are starting to change and everything. Would you say you're a fall guy?
The biggest fall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think fall is criminally underrated, and especially compared to spring. I'm a fall, then winter, then summer, then spring. I like to live in the gloom a little bit. I like the fall and the
Seattle area, Idaho area.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of in that same realm, and that's where I feel the most. I feel like I get seasonal depression like opposite. Like in the summer, I'm like, oh my god, it's so hot and the sun's out so long.
But all right, and not to bring it on too long about this, but you talk about that area of the United States, and we talk about mental health.
Yeah.
It's weird to me that mental health is such a big thing in that area of the United States.
It's an epidemic.
It's weird that it's in that little corner of the U.S., like near the Seattle area. Do you think it's because it's more of that gloomy, rainy, very darkish at times place, or what is it about that area?
I think so. I think that's a lot of it. Something to do with that. I think also out there you can get, for lack of a better term, idle hands. When you don't have a path, you don't have much to do. You can get stuck out
doing
there.
the motions.
Yeah, and I think that coupled with the weather and other things, I think that can definitely do it.
Well, let me ask you my last 2 questions on the show.
Okay.
Before we go to a section we call Walk the Line, and that is where you'll be performing. I'll tee you up on that. Now, kind of stole, like I told you before we started, you kind of stole my last 2 questions that I asked, so I'm going to change up this question here. When we talk about going through the motions and pursuing your passion, like you said before, there's been plenty of times where people told you no. People told me that you're not good enough, or, XYZ, you name it, right? What did you do, or what can other people do to have that internal drive? Latinos like to say ganas, the drive within, to continue going and not listening to the people that said you could not do it?
Well, my first piece of advice for anybody would be to find something that you're good at. Because I think a big piece of it was I knew that I could write a song, just like I knew that, like, I turned down a white collar job to be a fly fishing guide. I got an economics degree and I was ready to go be a stockbroker. And I just knew that it wasn't for me. And I knew that I wasn't going to be that good at it. But I was like, I love fly fishing. And I will go to work every day doing that, happy. Just like songwriting. Like, I knew that if I could chase this and maybe get something to happen, I'd be happy and I love the job. Mm-hmm. I think finding something that you're really good at, where no one can, and you're good at it. Mm-hmm. And that way no one can tell you otherwise. When someone tells you like, oh man, like you're just really not cut out for this. But you're like, no, I know I am, because I've convinced myself basically, and I've put time into this and I am good at this.
The hard work.
Yeah.
No one, absolutely no one gets in the situation and just is great. No. You have to put in the hard work, going to work and not stopping. Talk to people what it's like, what people don't see. They see you on stage, but talk to me what goes behind the stage.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of days. It's setup. It's takedown. It's talking to fans. It's signing stuff. It's being a son. It's being a boyfriend. You have to live a life around 200 days of being gone. There's so much stuff that goes into it. The other thing I like to tell, young artists or people trying to, get to that spot is, man, I hope you got to get into it for the right reasons. You got to love it, because if you don't love it and you turn the faucet on, you can't turn it off. So if you don't 100% love this and something happens for you, you are going to hate it. Let's say you've never played a live show before, but you have a video go crazy. Well, now your very first show is in 2 months. You don't have a band. It's a 2,500 cap room. It's probably going to sell out because your song's doing really, really well. But you've never done that before. Well, now the work starts there. You put in the work prior to making videos, making content. You wrote the song. You've been working on that. Posted a video. It did really well. Well, now you're going to have a couple years to work on that live set. If you work on the live set prior, well, now guess what? You got the great band, you got the great songs, but now you got to work on the other side of it. So the hard work can come in either ways or whatever, but for sure, once you turn the faucet on, there's no going backwards, only forwards.
I love that. Now, my last question that I got on the show, it's practically the end of 2024. Shout out to all you guys that made it through the whole of 2024. And I'm just curious to know, what are you looking forward to the rest of this year? I know you want to take a break. You got to be taking a break.
I just took a 2-week break. I'm ready to go. You just did?
Now.
Yeah.
Really? You took a 2-week break and then you also did the Red Rocks?
Yeah, so we had 2 weeks, then Red Rocks, then we just got back, and then we're going out for the rest of the fall. We're going out with Whiskey Myers. Mm-hmm. We have the headlining show at the Exit Inn, and then we're going to finish the year with Flightline Cavalry doing 4 shows in the Northeast. And then I would probably imagine I'm going to try and make my 6th record.
What does that 2025 look like for you?
Busy. Yeah. Hoping for, I think 2025 right now, it's looking a lot like a lot of headlining shows. I think we're going to go to a lot of markets that maybe we didn't get to last year.
Give me a couple that you want to hit.
I'd love to hit Michigan.
Okay.
Never played Michigan. I think that would be really fun. Obviously, I think after this year, we will have played 40 states.
Wow.
So we're missing, I think, South Dakota, Michigan, North Dakota.
When I think about the SEC, it's football season. Yeah. People are watching this, and next week's the week you're out is a big football week for a lot of people. What are your favorite college towns to play in the SEC?
I'm a Bulldogs fan. My mom's side of the family's from Atlanta, so Athens, 100%. Always Athens. Athens has also been really good to us. So, go Dogs.
Well, all right. Well, I'll let it end like that. So, all right. So now this is the part of the show where it's called Walk the Line. It's not your day in life today. You're going to be performing a song, which I still don't know of, and we're an hour into this interview. So I'm kind of nervous to see what you guys will see after this. But the way we set it up is you look straight into that camera right there. You say your name and you say, "This is how I walk the line," just like the Johnny Cash song.
Beautiful.
All right. So right after the applause here.
I'm Colby Acuff, and this is how I walk the line. It makes your heart beat fast, 'cause mine's slow. It makes your mind sharp, 'cause mine's feeling dull. Am I just a misfit, lost in my own consciousness? I'll do it for the hell of it. I don't mind the consequence. So let me know what I'm feeling, 'cause I'm having trouble breathing, and I can't keep fighting demons in my mind. And I'm so numb, I could walk right through flaming fire. Hell, it's my only desire. How do I feel like? Nicotine dreams fill my head, and all I can think of is one last cigarette. alcohol kills anxiety, but it's the alcohol that's killing me. I've been dying for a sign, so let me know what I'm feeling, 'cause I'm having trouble breathing, and I can't keep fighting demons in my mind. Yeah, and I'm so numb, I could walk right through flaming fire. Hell, it's my only desire. How do I feel alive? So let me know what I'm feeling, 'cause I'm having trouble breathing, and I can't keep fighting demons in my mind. So let me know what I'm feeling, 'cause I'm having trouble breathing, and I can't keep fighting demons in my mind. And I'm so numb, I could walk right through flaming fire. Hell, it's my only desire. How do I feel?